Slide 1. Welcome back. So far, we have seen how to construct market supply curves from sellers' unit cost schedules. Similarly, we have seen how to construct market demand curves from buyers' reservation value schedules. Since each individual is the only one who knows their schedule, it follows that no one can know market demand or supply in total. Slide 2. Today, we will be looking at a theory of market equilibrium and see how that equilibrium changes when individual circumstances change. It is best to watch this video after you have watched the videos Market Demand Revisited and Market Supply Revisited. Slide 3. We can graph the market demand and market supply for wood-turned pens together to give us a more complete picture of this market. All the individuals are now represented as steps on this one graph, and the two curves cross at $5. This is the competitive equilibrium price. We can now do a thought experiment to see why we might call this an equilibrium. Slide 4. Suppose the price is $2.50. We immediately see we have a problem. At this low price, buyers want 7 pens, but sellers are only willing to make and sell 2 pens. Who should get the pens when we have excess demand? There is no good answer, but if the market is at this price, pens will have to be rationed to buyers somehow. If there are no strong price controls, we expect the market price to change. In particular, the buyers who are not getting pens should be willing to bid the price up to induce sellers to make and sell more pens. Slide 5. Let's look at another example where the price is $6.50. Now sellers want to make and sell 6 pens, but buyers only want to buy 3 pens. Who should sell pens when we have an excess supply? Again, there is no good answer. If there are no strong price controls, we expect the market price to change. In particular, the sellers who are not selling pens should be willing to offer a lower price to induce buyers to buy more pens. Slide 6. Our theory suggests that prices will fall with excess supply and rise with excess demand. This suggests that the equilibrium will occur when there is no incentive to change offers or bids. Slide 7. In our example graph, there is only one price that buyers and sellers will not try to change, and that is $5. Slide 8. The competitive equilibrium price is at $5, and the equilibrium quantity is at 4 or 5 pens. Slide 9. Competitive equilibrium is a theory since it predicts what prices and quantities we could expect if we know market supply and market demand. But as Hayek points out, we cannot know. So, how do we test such a theory? For a long time, economists tried to measure supply and demand and then see if prices converge to equilibrium. Hayek claims this is most likely a fool's errand. More recently, economists found a way to test this theory using controlled laboratory experiments. We will talk about this soon. Slide 10. If competitive equilibrium theory works, then it could be very useful in predicting how prices will change as economic conditions change. We are not talking about changes to one seller or one buyer circumstance, but more about what happens when changing circumstances affect everyone in roughly the same way. Slide 11. Suppose a country's wealth is increasing, and most people enjoy an increase in their disposable income. What will happen to the demand for wood-turned pens? As shown, we would expect demand to shift up and to the right to the blue market demand curve. What will this do to prices? Take a moment and think about your answer. Slide 12. According to our theory, prices should move up to a new equilibrium at $6.50, and the quantity of pens sold should also go up. Slide 13. Alternatively, we can ask what happens if the economy moves into a deep recession. Now demands shift in and to the left. What should happen to the price of pens? Slide 14. Now we would expect the price of pens to fall toward the new equilibrium of $3.50 and the quantity of pens sold to fall. Slide 15. Shifts in demand can be caused by many different changes in circumstances. The demand for tomatoes is likely to shift out if research findings that tomatoes improve memory are widely disseminated and believed. Similarly, if most people like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, then the demand for peanut butter will shift out if the price of jelly decreases. Finally, if an influencer gets more people to want wood-turned pens, then the demand for these pens will shift out. One example, not on this slide, is the demand for fungible tokens on the blockchain. The demand for blockchain tokens is linked to investors' belief in the underlying value of blockchain technologies. If Bitcoin's price falls and this changes investors' beliefs about the fundamental value of blockchains, then this will shift the demand for other blockchain tokens, causing their prices to fall as well. Slide 16. Looking at the supply side, we can see that a shift in supply to the left gold supply curve can lead to an increase in prices towards the new equilibrium price of $6. Slide 17. What will happen if supply shifts out to the right? Slide 18. We would expect prices to fall toward the new equilibrium price of $4. Slide 19. Like shifts in demand, shifts in supply occur when circumstances change in such a way as to affect the unit costs of all sellers. A rise in the price of fertilizer can raise the cost of producing tomatoes and lead to a shift to the left and higher prices. Alternatively, an improvement in tractor efficiency would make it less costly to produce tomatoes, causing a shift to the right and lower prices. The last example is interesting. As we saw when we were building the market supply, simply adding more sellers is likely to shift the supply curve to the right. Thus, more entrants will lower prices, explaining why sellers of goods and services will try to reduce entry into markets. Slide 20. I noted earlier that Hayek thought competitive equilibrium was not a useful concept for predicting or trying to influence prices, but he also commented on the fact that many different circumstances are changing at the same time. This makes it hard to predict when we are seeing a substantial enough shift in supply or demand to cause prices and quantities to move in a predictable direction. Slide 21. The theory of competitive equilibrium makes predictions about price changes in markets. While we may not be able to predict these changes, Hayek believed that the prices generated by the market were a consequence of this theory. Thus, he believed people could use prices to make better decisions.